Well, another Philly team beat a Joshua Harris team in South Philly tonight. Tonight, the Flyers beat the Devils 4-2. So, way to go, Flyers! You keep the tradition going this week. I don't know if you heard yet, but yeah, we did some things on the weekend. On Sunday, 55-23. Listen, you appreciate this because we know too much about the other side. We just in this town we don't usually get this. This is uncharted territory for the Eagles. The Eagles have made it to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. That that's never happened before. First time for everything, right? And all the talk about Jalen, what did I say, man? The guy's a winner. He is now the first Eagles quarterback to go to 2 Super Bowls, the multiple Super Bowls, and he's guided them to 2 Super Bowls as quarterback. That's pretty special. That's rare air. And Nick Sirianni is the first coach to do that too. So congrats to both of them. I mean, congrats to this team. They're on a mission, man. And I know people didn't want the Eagles and the Chiefs. I get that. People have a lot of Chiefs fatigue. I have Chiefs fatigue, like I had Patriots fatigue all those years, right? Boston fatigue all those years with them continually winning all the time. And meanwhile, I was sitting here and we couldn't get over the hump with our teams, right? But you appreciate this. You appreciate this because you know the other side of it. And I've done this series for many years, and you've seen everything with me. You've seen the highest of highs in Super Bowl 52 championship, to the lowest of lows, losing seasons. Not that there's been a ton of them, and I give Mr. Lurie just a ton of credit. Under his ownership, this franchise has just reached levels that they've never reached. They've been to the most NFC championship games of any team since the year 2008 of them. They've been to they've been to 4 Super Bowls. Half the NFC title games they've been to, they've won. They won Super Bowl 52 against the great Dynasty Patriots team. And that's what, it really wouldn't have mattered. Like, if whoever they would have won, we would have remembered the first championship. But just the fact it was against the Patriots, that great a team we lost to before in the Super Bowl, got revenge. And a chance we get to do it again against another team, another Dynasty team that we lost to before. All right, this time maybe a little sooner than the Patriots was. Not a lot of teams can say that. Not a lot of fan bases can say that. I wanted this matchup. When the playoffs began, I wanted this. I wanted to get even with those Chiefs. And I know it's going to be hard. To beat a dynasty, you have to play a perfect game. The good thing, at least with football, is it's just one game. It's harder to beat a dynasty team if you have to play them in a series. Because then you have to play like 4 perfect games. Or 3, depending on when you're playing them. But certainly in the finals. And it's very tough. We know this from experience. Every time a Philly team seems to go to a finals, it's against a dynasty team. Either a dynasty at the time or a franchise that becomes a dynasty after they beat us, right? It just goes with the territory. We're just not meant to play anyone else. But it's even that much better when you win, when you beat that team. And yeah, it's only happened once. Super Bowl 52. When the Phillies won, and I'll always be grateful for that team. They did beat Tampa Bay. Not quite a dynasty team, a very good team. But Phillies were able to win that World Series. And it was my first championship. As a lot of other people, as a Philly fan, as a Philadelphia sports fan, it will always have a great moment in my heart. Not just the fact that they did it, but I was at that championship parade, my first one as a Philly fan, with my mom. Still, to this day, rest her soul, that just means so much to me. And I have great stories to tell from that one. And great memories. When the Eagles won in Super Bowl 52, it was so special. And what makes it special is because you know the other side of it. When you go through years of losing, I was laying on my back in 2002 after we lost to Tampa Bay in the NFC title game and closed down the Vet, my first stadium for the Phillies and the Eagles, and one of my first stadiums overall. And that, to this day, is still one of the most painful ones for me, even more so than the Super Bowl losses. People find that kind of weird, the Super Bowl ones hurt you more. I'm like, we were so certain we were going to win that year. And it was the vet. Yeah, it was a dump, but it was our dump. And it just how that closed down on that game, it hurt so much. It really did. We were so sure it was going to be our time, and it wasn't. So when we won Super Bowl 52, you have all these memories, and you have the memories not just of the good times, but to be honest, you have more memories of the bad and the losses and the pain. And I always say that's what makes championship what makes it what it is, because you got to deal with pain. You got to deal with that. It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. Okay, you're going to deal with stuff, with agita, with just gut-wrenching things. And these teams have done it for me. The Sixers alone is the reason that I can appreciate this for the Eagles, what the Sixers have done to me over the years. If that team ever wins. Yeah, that's going to be up there if they ever win one. But the Eagles were my first. The Eagles were my first love of Philly teams, and I love them all. God knows I love them all. Maybe a little too much, but I love these teams. It's in my blood. And the Eagles were the first. Since '92, I've been riding with them through thick and thin, everything you can imagine. And this season of the Fan Series that I started many years ago, I just wanted to show that ride of being an Eagles fan throughout seasons. And it's been a lot, and you've seen a lot. You've seen the highest of highs of Super Bowl 52. You've seen lowest of lows last season, how that ended. But that's what makes you appreciate this. And I know people, are out there, I didn't want to see the Eagles versus the Chiefs, blah, 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 But I guarantee you they're going to watch the game. If you're a football fan, you're not going to watch the game. I've seen matchups that I didn't want to see in the Super Bowl, but I watch the game every year. Because it's the Super Bowl. It's the biggest game. It's the event. And I feel very privileged to have seen my team in 3 of them in the last 8 years. Really, to say I've seen 4 of them. There's fan bases that can't say that. They can't say they saw them in 1. Even fan bases of teams that have won a lot, won before their time. Dallas fans, for instance. They can't say that, right? There's Dallas fans that can't say they saw their team. I remember seeing their team in Super Bowls, but some of them can't. They're Niner fans that can't say that. I can say it. I remember 94 when they crushed the Chargers, but there's a lot of Niner fans that can't say that, right? It's just like what it is with the Eagles. So I do feel privileged. I've seen him in 4. I've seen him win 1. Hopefully see him win 2. If we can win this one, getting even with 2 dynasty teams, getting revenge on 2 of them. We got revenge on the Patriots, and now we have a chance at the Chiefs. Okay, so this one will be a little quicker. The Patriots one we had to wait a while. From 2005 to 2018, but February, but yeah, we got it, and it was that second time, right? Like the Cuz was saying today, Anthony Gargano, he was saying, Rocky 2, Rocky beat Apollo. He didn't beat him in 1, he beat him in 2. It took 2. Now look, there's a lot of times we know in the history, right? You play a dynasty team, and sometimes you can't beat them, right? I mean, it's happened here. The Flyers lost to Edmonton twice in the 80s, right? How many times the Sixers lost to the Lakers? How many times the Sixers lost to the Celtics in the playoffs, right? In those years. Right? Phillies couldn't beat the Dodgers for a while in the playoffs. Then it came around that the Dodgers couldn't beat the Phillies in the playoffs. The Braves can't beat the Phillies in the playoffs, right? But you talk about dynasty teams, right? Well, obviously, back in particularly in the 90s, the Bulls beat the Jazz twice. The Jazz couldn't beat the Bulls twice. 2 straight years. The Braves lost to the Yankees twice when the Yankees were a dynasty. You did have other examples, certainly. Dallas, Buffalo, losing to Dallas twice. Unfortunately, I saw that. 2 straight years. Buffalo lost 4 in a row, and the last 2 were against Dallas. Dallas was dynasty, right? And even like I said, more recent time, there's been examples of this, right? Cleveland not being able to beat Golden State in some of those championships. Nothing's a given, but it's also not a given for that dynasty team to win, right? The Patriots lost twice to the Giants. I mean, really, how did you lose twice to Eli? He was our bitch. I mean, at least we will always have that over the Patriot fans. He never bothered us. Yeah, twice? Twice. All right, but at any rate, but yeah, that was an example of a dynasty team not being able to win. But they lost to the same team twice. So sometimes when you lose to a team, it's not guaranteed, oh, we're just going to get the revenge, right? We were able to do it, thank goodness, in Super Bowl 52. The Eagles had to play a perfect game to do it, and they damn near did. And they won. And they made plays, right? We all remember the Philly, right? We remember the strip sack. I have a picture of it right up there. And I will be forever grateful to that Eagles team for pulling that off and winning that Super Bowl, and it made it so special. Not only was it our first one, but it was against the team that we lost to before. It was against the great dynasty. What can anyone say? We beat Tom Brady and the Hoodie at the height of their powers. And now we have a chance to beat Team Swifty at the height of their powers. And not a lot of people could say that. I think it would make it so special. And the Eagles, and I know a lot of fans don't want to give any credit to the NFL titles before Super Bowls, even though it was a big part of the history of the sport. Not everyone likes history, but it is what it is. The Eagles, if they beat if they win Super Bowl 59, this is a franchise that could say they beat the man. The only time that Vince Lombardi lost in a championship game with the Packers, talk about dynasty teams, the man that the trophy is named after in the Super Bowl. The Eagles beat him in 1960 at Franklin Field. The Eagles won 52 against Tom Brady, the Hoodie, and the Patriots, the great dynasty that they were, one of the great all-time dynasties. And now they have a chance to win another one against another great dynasty. Big Red, Pointy McPoint, Floppy McFlop Flop, and the Team Swifties, right? No one can say there's not one thing. People might have more, we got 4, we got 5, we got 6. But look at who we're beating. You can't rival that. That's uncharted territory right there. Call us the Dynasty Busters after that, right? The Chiefs are trying to get a three-peater, as they're calling it, the Chief Pete. If we can stop that, that's pretty special. That's pretty special. And I do think the Eagles have a team that can do it. Listen, again, they have Nick Sirianni has to remember some of the mistakes made just a few years ago. You have to keep your foot to the pedal. The second half of that game in Super Bowl 57, he punted. In a bad time, he could have gone for it. No guarantee they would have made it, but you go for it there because the Chiefs had momentum. And you kept giving them momentum by giving them the ball back. They went, I believe, on that possession and scored a touchdown. It's mistakes, but now you got to learn from that, right? Whereas in Super Bowl 52, to Dougie P's credit, right, always remember he kept the foot to the pedal, right? He kept it down. Didn't let up, because if you let up on that team just for a little bit, that team's going to get you. Dynasty teams will do that. So this Super Bowl 59, my hope, is that Sirianni and the coaching staff just keep that pedal down. Keep it down. Don't let up for a second against that team. That's how they beat you. And we can talk about the officiating and the flags and the this and that. But to beat a team like that, you got to play almost a perfect game. The thing that gives me hope is that all throughout the playoffs, the Eagles have not turned the ball over. This defense has been so amazing at getting turnovers. It really has. It's almost like every time you want them, even during this game yesterday, 55-23. The Eagles scored the most points in the history of the conference title game in either league. That's pretty special right there. But and we'll get into the game. But I'm sitting here on the recliner and I'm going. It was the second half. It was still at that time a close game. I'm like, we can really use a turnover right about now, and damned if they do. They get a fumble. They're just remarkable at what they're doing defensively. I give a lot of credit to Vic Fangio, but I give a lot of credit to the players too. There's a lot of really good players on that side of the ball. Maybe they're not quite the sack team that they had back in 22 when they lost to the Chiefs. And I really hope the sod father stays. I don't even want to see him in the building, even if he's not doing anything with the. No. You can't even go. I don't even want to see him there. I don't even want to know he's in New Orleans somewhere. Just stay away. You're retired. Stay retired. Go. Stay away from our game. You damn Chiefs fan, you. But anyhow, yeah. This defense, man, they're balling, man. I don't know why I call them before the wrecking crew. It just amazes me how they're playing. And yeah, you talk about, and I said this in the video a few videos ago. I said, this is the makeup of football from its infancy state. It's always been about the offensive and defensive lines. If you can win that, when the ball is snapped, or you win those battles, more likely you're going to win the game. And the Eagles have done a great job for many years putting a great offensive line and a great defensive line. And it is very hard to replace legends, right? In this last offseason, we lost 2 all-time Eagles to retirement, right? In Jason Kelce and in Fletcher Cox. And they haven't missed a beat. And that's hard to do. It's real hard to do. But they were able to, Jalen Carter, who Aaron Donald says, all right, the pass has been torched to him, and Aaron knows something about that position. And Cam Jurgens, and I know Jurgens had the back, right? Dickerson, and then he gets hurt. Talk about Warriors, right? Dickerson waving him off. Jurgens wanted to come into the game, even though he really shouldn't have. But he wanted to come into that first, and Jurgens like, no, I got this. You stay out, you stay off. And then the second half, Jurgens is in there. They haven't missed a beat. You talk about 2 all-timers. I mean, 2 guys who could be Hall of Famers. I definitely think Kelce will be, and I think you can certainly make an argument for Fletcher Cox. He was an all-decade player. He was just one of the great defensive tackles in Eagles history. Certainly, he'll be an Eagle Hall of Famer. But when you talk about his during his years, his era, for that position, he's one of the greats. And to lose those 2 and the guys that come up and they learned from those. Sometimes when you learn from great players, it just makes that transition that much better. You become a sponge. And you learn from everything. These guys learned from everything they could from Big 91 and from 62. And look, Kelce was one of the ones that handpicked Jurgens for the Eagles to draft. He said he reminded him of him. But you still gotta be willing to learn from these players, and that's what these guys did. And you can see it. You can see it every week how they're playing. And I know Brandon Graham's another one. He's an all-timer. He's to the point that during a mic'd up at one point, one of the other players on another team called him Mr. Eagle, because he's been an Eagle his whole career, right, for so long, and they have a young buck, that's playing pretty good right now in his absence in Smith and Smith, and he's going to be that. He's the next. That next one up, right? Next one up, next man up. Once Brandon retires, you're going to have Smith out there, trying to fill his shoes. Hard shoes to fill, but he's played better and better as the season's gone along. And he's really stepped up in BG's absence. He really did. He had a sack yesterday. I've really been impressed with him. One of the Georgia guys. One of the Georgia dogs, right? And how fittingly we're playing a Super Bowl in the South, where a lot of these players played, right? All the Georgia dogs that we have on this team. And it's going to be great. They know that stadium pretty good, so it's going to be fun. And then, you look around. It's hard. It's hard to replace certain guys, right? Zach Ertz was replaced with Dallas Goedert. And Brent Selleck, in a way, right? His productivity was replaced with Zach Ertz. You go from Selleck to Ertz to Goddard. That's pretty good. You talk about 3 all-time tight ends on Eagles history. Goddard now has the all-time record for receptions and yards in the Eagles postseason history for the tight end position. There's been some pretty good tight ends over the years on this franchise. You go back to Chad Lewis days, the Pete Retzlaff days, even way back when. There's been some pretty good tight ends in Eagles history. Keith Jackson even. So, having that record is pretty nice. Is a pretty nice accomplishment for Mr. Goddard. And then, of course, you have 26. I mean, what can you say? The guy's a cheat code. On this team, he's a cheat code. It's just that simple. I was a huge fan of his at Penn State. I was so chagrined when he was drafted by the Giants because I knew I couldn't root for him because he's playing for a division rival, right? He's playing for an enemy. I respected him, but I knew I was so hoping he would be drafted by the Browns because at least then I could still root for him, right? He went to the Giants. That broke my heart. That was like, oh, damn. I felt so bad. I knew they were getting such a good player. But look, the Giants over those years just never did enough to address the offensive line. They didn't believe in the philosophies the Eagles believed in. Now listen, I will raise my hand. Word to all of you, I will raise my hand. There is no way you could have told me in this offseason the Eagles were going to get Saquon. I thought there was a chance he was going to leave, that he was going to go to another team. There was no way I thought he was going to come here because the philosophy of this franchise is not to pay the running back. But I will give Howie Roseman and the powers that be and Jeffrey Lurie and the powers that be that they did it. And I know one of the reasons why they did it, and I said this before, was because of what they saw in the 49ers. And the Niner fans might not like to hear this, but their team kind of helped us, even though they destroyed us last year and won that game. But watching how the Niners did their thing last year, and I know they lost in the Super Bowl in overtime to Kansas City, but Howie noticed. Howie noticed how that team was winning, how they were doing their thing on offense. And they had a really good quarterback, receivers, of course, an all-timer in tight end and Kittle. But the engine, everything that made that offense run was McCaffrey. He was that finishing piece. And the Eagles saw that. And Howie saw that. And they knew they had an opportunity with Saquon as a free agent to get that guy. And again, I never would have thought they would have paid the money for a running back. This is just not something they do. They draft running backs. Maybe they make a trade like they did with Swift last season before the season with Detroit. But they don't pay guys. They let running backs go, right? This is not what they usually do. But they knew they had to, and they had a very once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get one of these kind of backs who was still young enough and still had years, still had tires, still had tread on the tires, right? People thought he didn't. I'm like, no, he does. He's still pretty good. He just didn't have the offensive line. Their offensive schemes in New York just did not fit him, right? Now, again, I will raise my hand and say if you would have told me that he was going to have this kind of season, I didn't see this happening to the point that he's leaping over guys backwards. He's rushing for 2,000-plus yards. He can catch TD for the all-time yards, including playoff rec. No one saw this coming. I don't even think Saquon saw this coming, to be honest. He never had this kind of offensive line. And I will give this team a lot of credit that they found their identity after the bye week when they were 2-2. Even that Cleveland game, it was a win, but you just had a taste. Sirianni yapping at fans. I'm getting frustrated. Everyone's getting frustrated, right? Even the game against Jacksonville where he did the backwards hurdle. I'm at the Turtle in Maryland with Slim. I'm yelling at the TV. I'm getting calmed down by Washington fans. Like, this is my team. I can't stand Sirianni. It was maddening, but they found their identity. Their identity was like it's not the way football is played much these days. Although it's going to start to turn, they found their identity was ball control, running the ball, and it's not a slight on Jalen because Jalen's still doing some great things. He's not turning the ball over. Again, I will say, you tell some of these other fan bases whose teams are out of the playoffs right now, who don't quite have that guy at quarterback right now, would they take Jalen on their team? Oh, absolutely they would. They'd be lying if they say they wouldn't. He's a winner. I've said this many times. He's a winner. He wins. He's the first quarterback in franchise history to go to 2 Super Bowls. He's been to 2 NFC title games. He won both of them. He's 2-0. All right, he lost a tough one against against Pointy McPoint in the Chiefs in the Super Bowl 57, but he balled out in that game. He had a bad turnover in the first half. I get that, but he brought them back. They were down 8. He tied the game. He just didn't get the ball with enough time to do anything with it at the end. It's a shame. It's one of the great shames of that game. But they found who they were. And they found who they were on defense as well. It's not just what they did on offense. It's how they found themselves on defense. And Vic Fangio, whoever was going to work on this defense, those were the guys who he was giving playing time to. The Huffs of the world wasn't going to get it. These other guys, the young guys, he started infusing them into the defense, the Cooper DeJeans and company, and it set it all off, right? They found themselves. And you look at the moves that Howie made, yeah, it didn't hit with Huff. But you look at these other moves, and they showed it towards the end of the game yesterday. The five moves, whether it was obviously Saquon, but you had Zach Bond, you had Zach Bond, you had the additions of in the draft of Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell, Q of course, and you had the hire of Vic Fangio. And the Moore hire was a good one too, right? From our buddies in Dallas. They love this, don't they? Hello. But anyhow, hit home runs with all of them. All 5 of them are in line, and might not win, but they're all in line for an end of season award, whether it's league MVP, defensive player of the year in Bond, defensive rookie of the year in Q and DeJean, and coordinator of the year in Vic Fangio, and all deservingly. 5 moves. And again, I hate to keep going back to last season, I do, but I point back to last season, as poor as that season ended, and that could have broken a lot of teams, and some teams it may have, but they found a way to rally. They brought in new good moves at coordinators, right? Offense and defense. They found players in the draft, not just Q and DeJean, but other guys too, right? Jalix Hunt was a nice pickup. Even Shipley. He's not gotten a lot of time. He's made some good plays on special teams. And then he had a big, he's the king of almost, though. He twice now he's broken one. He just couldn't score. But he did get a score late in the game, which was great for him in mop-up duty at the end of that of the NFC title game. What a thrill that must have been for him. But they found a lot of guys in the draft, and they hit on a lot of things this offseason. They really did. And again, a season that ended as poorly as it did, and I know I've said this many a time, I'm sitting there with Slim in the frozen Meadowlands in Week 18 last year, freezing our asses off, being heckled by Giants. Think about this. We were being heckled by Giants fans. You know how bad it gets when you're heckled by Giants fans? I mean, look at them. Look at their team. We were heckled by them last season. Heckled by them. Mocked. Openly. In their stadium. Whoop-de-dooing around us. We had to go from that. And how that season ended in Tampa, how poor this team played, and it's just, again, a lot of franchises, this is you're going to be wandering the wilderness for a few years after that. But they found a way. And maybe to the chagrin of certain fan bases, but we found a way to overcome it. And even the poor start that they had to this season, they found a way to rally around that and get better and make the changes that needed to be made. And the coaching staff doing the things they have to do to listen and to make the moves that needed to be made, to change what needed to be changed, to be willing to do that. And the players, of course, buying in and playing better and just finding themselves during the season and winning some big games against very good teams. Winning in Cincinnati against the league's leading touchdown and yards passer, of course, in Joe Burrow, right? Winning in Baltimore. Winning against the Steelers. At the time, the Steelers were a hot team. I know they didn't end well for them. They kind of had a similar end to how we had last season, but they were playing pretty good. They came to Philadelphia. They weren't playing good after that, right? The Eagles took care of them, and that was it for Pittsburgh. Right? They beat the Rams twice, including the playoffs. They beat the Packers twice, including in the playoffs. They beat the Commanders would have been 3 times if Jalen didn't go down with a concussion in that game. And even with that, they almost beat him. It came down to a Smith drop. that he catches 99 out of 100 times. 2 of our 3 losses were because of late drops. That is what it is. That's part of the game. Big wins against a lot of teams. Finding ways, just finding themselves. Damn right this team deserves to be in the Super Bowl. And people can say they didn't want to see this, they didn't want to see this. Too bad. This team deserves to be there. And they have every chance, the way they're playing now. And there's 2 weeks, and Spagnuolo's going to have 2 weeks to look at this offense, but Vic Fangio's going to have 2 weeks to look at their offense. Right? And you give Big Red a bye week, he's always trouble that next game, I know. But, look, this team has every chance to win this game in a couple weeks. And to have a franchise, if that happens, that can say that we beat 2 dynasty teams and got revenge on 2 dynasty teams. I mean, that would just be so awesome. So awesome. That's why I wanted the Chiefs. And when the playoffs started, I said, I want them. No, I don't want Buffalo, Baltimore, these other teams. I want Kansas City. I know they're a pain in the ass. I know they get calls. Floppy McFlop. I get that. I know. And they'll get calls in that game. You can mark it down. They will. Okay? You got to overcome it. And if there's ever a team that has a chance to do it, it's this one. And maybe Saquon's that final piece. You know, we've seen this town before. Maybe before my time. But in 82, 83, the Sixers couldn't get over the hump. Right? They kept losing to the Celtics. They kept losing to the Lakers. What did they do? They got Moses. They won the championship. The late 70s Phillies. One of the great eras in franchise history. Late 70s into the 80s. They kept losing to the Dodgers. Couldn't get past the Dodgers. What did they do? They got Pete Rose. And Pete made believers of some other players. He made Mike Schmidt believe more in himself. And they won the 80 World Series against a very good Royals team. And to get there, they had to overcome deficit against Nolan Ryan in Houston in the Astrodome in the National League Championship Series. You go back and look at highlights of that series. It was a best of 5 back then, and the Phillies were up 2-0, and the Astros tied it, and it was in Houston, the old Astrodome. Nolan Ryan on the mound, never lost a game. He had a lead of that kind. The Phillies came back and beat him, and they won the World Series. And Pete Rose was a big part of it. People can say what they want about Pete Rose. He deserves to be a Hall of Famer. He gambled and whatever. I get that, bet on baseball, this and that. You know, he may have been a real schmo as a person, but as a ball player, he was great. And he helped this franchise win their first World Series title. Again, I was a little too young for that. I don't remember it, but I know the history. In Super Bowl 52, maybe that last piece the Eagles needed was just that belief. And it didn't matter. That hungry dogs run faster, whatever it was, their mantra, the underdogs, the masks. But it brought them together. It got a belief in them that was unshakable. And it didn't matter who they were playing. They played the Patriots. Tom Brady has the greatest statistical Super Bowl in his career. And it didn't matter. The Eagles found a way to win that game. They did what it took to win. And maybe that final piece was as simple as that. It was just belief. No one was going to beat them. It didn't matter to them. They took on whoever they were going to take on, and they kept winning. And I could see that in this team. Belief goes a long way. Not that it's a given. It's not given they're going to win. But they have an unshakable belief right now. They're winning games. They're finding ways to win. They're doing things that has never been done before. 55 points in the conference title game. Maybe Saquon is that final piece to the puzzle as a player, and him as well as a team that just believes. Maybe that's what they need. Maybe that's it. I mean, they can undo a few things in this Super Bowl. You know, I was too young for it, but in 1980, they lost in New Orleans to the Raiders. So now they have a chance to win a Super Bowl in New Orleans against an all-time dynasty. That would just be amazing to me. And I've always kind of liked New Orleans. I've never been there, but it's always been a city that I've liked. I like Mardi Gras. I like spicy food. Like I've always kind of found a little kind of lineage to me with New Orleans for whatever reason. Whatever reason. I like the some of the history and the thing, the different, stuff that they have there. Just the colorfulness of that area. And their traditions, and I just always got a kick out of it. I'd like to visit there someday. So the Eagles to win the Super Bowl in New Orleans, that would be pretty cool. That would be a pretty cool thing. Maybe it's meant to be. I don't know. But I don't know, man. Maybe because I've seen this team beat a dynasty before in the Patriots. Maybe that just gives me hope and belief that I can see this again. But it's more than that. It's just seeing how this team's playing. And by the way, all the Jalen Hurt people out there, he can't win. He can't. You see how he played yesterday? Man balled out. Enough of this. They can't keep winning this way. Oh, yeah. What did I say a few videos ago? Maybe there's just something a team does so well, it doesn't matter what you try to do. Oh, Washington's going to put 8 in the box. All right, they did. The Rams did. The Packers did. You don't think they did? Maybe the Eagles' offensive line is just that good. And Saquon's just that good. You give him a little bit of daylight, he's gone. One play it took them to score yesterday. The Washington goes 18 plays and settle with a field goal. Eagles one play to Saquon, gone, touchdown. That demoralizes a team. Right? It was the tempo set on offense. You're not beating us today, Washington. You're not beating us. And then their fans got a little chesty. I did try to warn fan bases before. When you put the stuff on the Rocky statue, you see what happens. You see what happens. This has gone on for years. Not only do they lose, but they get their asses handed to them most of the time, right? You see what happens. You don't tempt certain things. You keep putting the stuff on Rocky, you see what happens. That's all I'm saying. Maybe now the Commander fans will learn. And then they thought they were doing something by taking over the Hard Rock Cafe, one of the eating establishments a lot of Philly people just don't go to. But that was doing something. Okay. You had the Reading Terminal Market just a couple blocks down. If you tried to take that over, it would have been a different story. Getting chesty. Haven't been there in 30 years, and all of a sudden now they're chesty. Look at us, look at us. Yeah, we saw you. And we saw you leave. Listen, you have a really good one in Jaden Daniels. He's going to be a problem for many years, and they finally seem to have found their quarterback. The guy, you're going to have really good seasons with him. You are. I give them a lot of credit, for him. He's going to be really good, and there's going to come a time that he wins that game. I have no doubt about that, because he seems to be a winner too. But it just wasn't yesterday. It wasn't his time. It wasn't their time. A rookie quarterback hasn't won. In a championship game, you can go back in history. We beat two of them now. Brock Purdy some years ago, and now Jaden Daniels. It's hard. It's hard. Once you get to a certain point, it's hard. It just shows how hard winning is. And some of those players might not get back to that type of situation again for a very long time. Now, Brock Purdy did. He got to the Super Bowl last year. But, sometimes it takes that time. It's that progression in sports sometimes, right? Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they're just that good that it doesn't matter. They get right back. But it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing, particularly for a young player, to go into a game like that and succeed. And I thought he had a good game. I don't think they lost because of him. Their defense was, what was that, right on the goal line? I've never heard that before. If you do this again, we're awarding them a touchdown. Enough. There's no other place you could put the ball. It was as close to the goal line. Yeah, one guy jumping over the line. Oh, that was so great. That just made that game that much. Oh my God, that was priceless. But again, man, shout out to this team, man. They, I'm not saying they've had the injuries that they had. It's hard to have had the injuries they had back in 2000. uh, and 2017-18, and they won that Super Bowl. You can't just get away with doing that a lot. You can ask the Lions about that this year, right? They've had some injuries, particularly in the playoffs. They've had some injuries, right? We lost Nakobe Dean, lost in the last game for most of the game. Q was out. We lost. I mean, you have Dickerson and Jurgens playing hurt. I mean, just warriors out there, man. Just it shows how much these guys want to win, and what it means to them to win. And this is a special place when you're winning. And I know we get a bad rap. I get it, and maybe the fans do it to themselves. One idiot ruins it for everybody. I get that, right? But speaking as someone who lives here, this is why when people say stuff about this area that I get a certain way, and Hyde comes out because this is my home, and I am here. I see the people here every day. I see when our teams are doing well. I see the passion, the joy in people when our teams are doing well. Listen, we don't always win. It's why it's funny to me that people are saying, the Eagles are winning too much. Like, okay, really? They're winning? This is okay. Because I can certainly count many times on seasons where we didn't. I can tell you many times where I was punched in the gut by this team and how long I've stuck through it and what I've gone through alone with the Sixers. Like I said, and that story just keeps going and going and going. It's like the Energizer rabbit with that one. Serenity now. But the Flyers have gone 50 years without winning a cup. We don't get glorified for it like the original six teams do when they go through droughts because we're not an original six team. And there is a bias in the NHL to the original six team. There just is. So when the Flyers are doing it, it doesn't get glorified. You don't hear about it. When the Rangers did it, oh my God, the Rangers are cursed, 54 years, oh my God. The Blackhawks, the Red Wings, whoever. The Maple Leafs can't go anywhere without hearing about the Maple Leafs' long drought. And Flyers, 50 years is, 50 years. But yeah, it's been 50 years. The Phillies, I saw them win in 2008, saw them in other World Series, but there's a lot of gut punches with that franchise, too. There's a lot of years of, not so much, a lot of cellar dweller years I can remember with that team. But that's why when it happens, when we do have some success, that's why it means so much, because we know the other side of it way too much. Way too much. And I do consider myself very fortunate, and I realize this, for seeing my team win a Super Bowl, for seeing the Phillies win a World Series, right? For seeing all of our teams in championship games, at least to get to that level. In some cases, multiple times. But when we're there, when we're making runs like this year and a couple of years ago and back in 17, 18, and in those runs, up until 04, 05, you just see what it means to people. You see how much it just brings everyone together. And I'm watching stuff on social media yesterday, and shout out to E-Rock. He's always putting up stuff on Instagram, all the stuff from the games and the tailgates before the games and everything after the games. He's doing all this different stuff. It's just happy people being just in just a great state of happiness. It's just pride and just passion for this team, and it's just. The Eagles is above and beyond anything else than you have in this. It's the lifeblood. I've always said it, and I have a lot of respect for the other three teams. I'm a partial season ticket over to the Phillies. I love that ballpark. I love going to the games there. That's the team I've probably invested the most into as far as, going to games. But it's always been the Eagles. It's a different thing with the Eagles. The Eagles are like some of these other teams are in some of these other towns, like, the Red Sox in Boston. You hear about the Cubs and whatever in Chicago. You hear about, right, some of these other friends, the Lakers, the Dodgers, what they in L.A., some of these other franchises and what it's like that makes the city go. And it's always been that way for the Eagles. The Eagles have always been that connecting thing with Philly. Look, when other teams are doing great, I mean, the atmosphere at that ballpark when the Phillies are in the playoffs. You talk about the atmosphere at the Wells Fargo Center when the Sixers are actually doing something positive. Right? When the Flyers, it really, it captivates everything. But the Eagles is just something different. It's something different. It's just that town loves its football. And it's a certain style of football. That's what I can't understand about this season. Why more people really haven't now they are, right? But the thing about what people wanted in this town was a great defense and a running team. A smash mouth run the football kind of team, right? To the point that not long ago people were putting up banners outside the NovaCare Center with "Run the football, Nick." Right? And now they're doing it, and it's just not. It doesn't seem to be good enough for some. Because Jalen's not throwing for 300 yards. It's maddening to me. It just to the point that some of our sports talk radio hosts talking about like. I don't know. I digress from that, but when the Eagles are going and they're making runs into the Super Bowl and doing stuff, seasons like this, it captivates you. It just does. And people come from the outside and they see it and they see the green everywhere, and it just you see it when you're here. You see it. You understand it. I got a message on one of my last videos. Someone said, "I hope your Eagles win because I see the passion you have for them." It means a lot, but I have the passion for this because this is what I know. This is what I've always known, right? And yeah, sometimes it's misguided. I will admit to that. Hyde's come out a few times. I've had arguments with people. Even in our Jersey Heads group, we know yeah. I'm not overly proud. But I have a lot of love for this city. I have a lot of love for the people here. I know we get a rap, but it's just people don't understand what this is. And maybe they can't. And maybe that's just all it is. They see what they see. They hear the talk, what people post on social media, but it's never enough of the good stuff. It's always when one drunk idiot does something. And it just makes the rounds. Because, look, that's what people want to see. Right? You see a lot of happy people, and I was at that parade, after Super Bowl 52. All it was just joy. Absolute joy. Like, I couldn't even describe what that was like at that parade. It was a lot of relief that it finally happened, that the Eagles won. But it was just joy. It was smiles everywhere. The cops are playing football, throwing the football across the street with people. Some of the things that I always remember from that, one of the things that I remember the most is there was a female cop that came by, and my buddy Mark, TJ fan, Mark TJ fan, and myself were outside City Hall, and cop came by, female cop, and had like a fanny pack, or a backpack rather, and took off the backpack and took out an Eagles flag. And just wanted the people who were in the front, because they were fenced off, by the street, to hang the flag up so the Eagles can see it when they came by on their buses. And I'm looking at this, and I'm about 3-4 people back, and I'm looking at this, and I'm saying, man, that's just love. That's passion. That we always are given this ogre-ness. These are terrible people. You see moments like that, and the people were just so happy to just do it, and they tied it up on the railing, and it was there. You don't see that. Those are the things that don't make it to social media. Those are the stories you don't hear about. And I can say that because I witnessed it. I saw that. And I wish at the end I could have taken some video of it and posted it. It's just a moment that just sticks with you. And it was such a beautiful moment. And that doesn't get captured. It's that drunken idiot yelling at the female Packer fan. It's the Flyer fan, getting into a fight with a Maple Leafs fan. It's always one idiot that just, and that's what gets captured, and that's what people see. They don't hear about the aftermath. How it was the Philly fans that policed it, that drunken guy that was yelling at the Packer. The Philly fans were why he got banned. I know it was Big Dom that got crit, but the Philly fans pointed him out. They said they wanted him out of there. They helped get him revoked from being in that stadium ever again. Things happen everywhere. I've said this 1,000 times. You can go on YouTube. You can look up fan fight. You see them at every stadium in the country, and of course overseas too. It happens everywhere. When you mix alcohol and sports, it's not a great mix. I've never been a big drinker. That's just not something I've ever really done. I might have a social thing here and there, but again, I've been to so many games, and I've only seen. On one hand, I can name you a couple times I saw maybe an idiot acting like a fool. In a way, it shouldn't bother me the way it does, but it does because this is my home. And when you talk about my home, I feel a way because this is where I live. This is a huge part of who I am. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this series many years ago, because I wanted to kind of debunk some of the stuff about being a Philly fan. And I know there have been times in the videos I get upset, I say stuff, I speak, but it's because it's the passion that comes out. Right? I care about these teams. I care about these moments. And I wanted to express that to whoever wants to watch. And I know I'm more known on YouTube for the jerseys and the hats and the combo wombo and all this and that and the jersey head. But Philly's teams are what's in my heart. This is why I collect, because sports is in my heart. And sports is in my heart because the Philly teams. That's what got me into it. And Jordan. Back in the day, in the 90s. But it's these teams, man, and particularly with the Eagles, they were my first in Philly. That's why they will always have as much special as all of them have to me. They will be the one that will always just be that just bit more, just because they were my first love of all of our teams. And I've rode with them the longest. Been through so much with this team, the highs and lows and everything. You've seen this on this series, but it goes beyond that. And that's why when we get there 2 out of 3 years and we get to a Super Bowl and the outside people, this team they win too much, we don't want to see them. I mean, I can't help that. That this means a lot to me because I know the other side of it. I experienced it last season. I know what that is. So I know when we get there, I'm going to appreciate it. And I'm going to love it. And I'm going to enjoy the ride. And I hope we win, and I think we have a good chance to do it. I do. I really do. I know it's Chiefs. I know it's tough. I've seen this team overcome it. I've seen them slay the dragon once. I think we could do it again. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it doesn't go our way again. Floppy McFlop gets a call late in the game, and they get a game-winning field goal or touchdown. Or, Chiefs always playing these close games, so who knows, right? Something doesn't go our way, goes their way. It can happen. They're a dynasty. It's hard to beat a dynasty. But I think if there's one team that can do it, I've seen them do it again before, it's in this team's DNA. They have it. They have the ability. They still have some guys left from 52. Right? They have that in their DNA. It's there. It's there. And maybe Saquon's the finishing piece. Maybe that was the missing piece from Super Bowl 57 that now we have in 59 and we can get it done. We have a defense that's playing a bit better than they were in 57. And maybe that sod father stays away from this one. Maybe keep him away from New Orleans. Keep him away from the Superdome. He's not to go in the Superdome. All right, so you can't keep Taylor Swift out, but the sod father has to stay away. He has to stay away. Oh, my goodness. So the Flyers ended up winning this game against the Devils. So we beat Josh Harris twice in a 24-hour span. That's not bad. Philly teams beat his teams twice in Philly, in South Philly. All right, so he owns the Sixers. Jack, can you just like focus a little bit on the Sixers? Just a pinch. I know your home is in Maryland. You care about Washington, the Commanders the most, but that's it for them now. Maybe go back to the Sixers just to see this mess that we have going right now. Do something about it, damn it. But anyhow, this series is not about this. Oh, God, if I did a series for the Sixers, I think a lot of people would agree that probably would not be a good idea. That would not be a good idea. Stay away from that series. Oh, that wouldn't be a good idea. That might get me kicked off YouTube. To be honest about it, that might be the end of it. I'm going to stick to the Eagles. I've always done the Eagles. I will stick to the Eagles. And as I said, man, for the fifth time in franchise history, fourth time I can remember seeing them, we're in the Super Bowl. We're in that final game. We're one of the final two left. Of all the teams in the league, we're one of the final two. And we have a rematch against Kansas City. As much as people didn't want to see it, it's too bad. Because this team wanted to play each other again. They wanted to do battle again. And as we did against the Patriots in Super Bowl 52, I want that revenge against Kansas City in Super Bowl 59. God, I want that revenge so bad. I can taste it. It hurts. And I don't mean Jalen. I want to. Oh, God, I want to beat them. I want to beat them so bad. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. So the Swifties won't be a fan of us. I can deal with that. I'm not a big fan of that music anyhow. You know, that's not my kind of thing. So they can be upset with us all they want. She can write a song about being heartbroken because the Eagles beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. That's okay. She was an Eagles fan, by the way, growing up. She may have forgotten about that now, but she was one of us at one point. That just went away when she started going with Travis. But it is what it is. It is what it is. We will see. Anyhow, maybe I'll get to another video next week as we get closer to Super Bowl 59. As it is right now, I'm going to, get to bed pretty soon. Got another work day tomorrow. Got some Eagles coverage on TV right now. And, been good times in South Philly. It's been, even the Sixers won the other day. They beat the Cavs in South Philly, and the Eagles won. The Flyers have been winning in South Philly, so it's the place to be right now for our teams. Sometimes it galvanizes the teams too. When one of them's really having a lot of success, the others want to have success too. It's funny how that works out sometimes. It just is. But hey, great win yesterday, 55-23. Oh my goodness, there's no way I saw that score coming. There just isn't. I thought it was going to be a close game all the way through. It might come down to the last possession. 55-23. Man, it just surprises me even as an Eagle fan. It really that was a hell of a game, and they've earned it. They've played so well. And like I said, man, Giant fans are losing a lot of sleep like their owner, because Saquon just keeps advancing. The first year in Philly, he's done more than he ever did with the Giants. Keeps going up and up and up and up. And now he's in the big game. The big game. He's on the biggest stage he's ever been on. And I think he's going to perform pretty good. I really do. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for watching. Almost an hour here. Had a lot to say. It's just been amazing. This run has been really great. And I'm very thankful for this team. I'm very thankful for this organization, what they were able to put together. I'm very thankful for the players, the coaches. They all everything has to work to get to a Super Bowl. It just does. And it has. It has. And as a fan, I can't ask for anything else besides a championship. Hopefully we get number 2. I don't know where I would put the banner. The walls are kind of full. I'll have to figure something out. But it will be a good problem to have. But I'm looking at the walls. I'm like, well, we'll make room. We'll figure something out. But I would love to have that problem. Believe me, in a few weeks, I would love to have that problem. Hopefully I do. And I need to get my measured again for another. If we win, and I won't do it beforehand, but I forget what my ring size I need, because I need another one of those. Even though the replica is still a very nice ring, I want another Super Bowl ring. I got the one, Super Bowl 52, which I'm very proud of, but come on, I have more fingers. I have more room. See, the wall's one thing, but I have room here. I got the one ring. I want more. We need more bling. Ah, my goodness. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for watching. What do you always got to do? You got to leave those likes. Like. It's good for the algorithm for the channel. If you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button. Still working on that 2K sub, so you can make that happen by hitting that sub button. Tell your family, tell your friends. And make sure you hit the bell icon so you're notified to all future content from yours truly. I have some other videos to bring to you guys and gals out there. I do have a couple in the life iced videos for you guys to get to. And then, like I said, next week maybe we'll do another season of the Fan for the Eagles as they look for title number 2 in franchise history in the Super Bowl era. And yes, boys and girls, there were championships before Super Bowls, and the Eagles won 3 of them. 2 of them in the 40s and in 1960 when they beat that guy named Lombardi. We all know his name, right? That's what the trophy's named after, and the Eagles were the only team to do it. So that happened, and then, of course, we know what happened in Super Bowl 52. And wouldn't it be interesting if they run another trick play and this time Jalen makes the catch? Although that Philly play, the Philly special play, it's just so, pardon the pun, special that if they try something like that again in this Super, let's that one needs to stand on its own. It needs to stand on its own. I would rather not see Jalen be a receiver. Like Saquon throws the ball to him or something. It would be interesting. It would be the Eagles to do it, but that Philly special play stands alone. It needs to stand alone. That was such a special moment. Though I do think it would be very funny if Brandon Graham plays this game and he gets a strip sack on Mahomes. Tom would be okay. We'd be like, oh, thank God that takes pressure off of me. Imagine Tom's, and he'll be calling the game. Tom would be like, oh, no, actually, that might not be good because then that would bring up the memory for Tom. He'd be like, oh, no, not this again. Yeah. Or he'll close his microphone and he'll yell out of the booth, you see that, Pat? That's what that feels like. And I still think it would just be so perfect. Because, again, when the Eagles won 52, Darryl Green came out with the lumber. Oh, if it's a former Cowboy. Oh, what that. A man can dream. Have Emmett out there or Troy Aikman or whatever, handing the Eagles. All right, take it. Darryl did not look happy when he was walking and the Eagles were like patting the Lombardi, and then he gets up there and he just take the damn thing. It's the little things in life that you just have to appreciate, isn't it? Oh, but if it's a former Cowboy, particularly a former Cowboy that just hated the Eagles like all those years, that would just that would be the icing on the sundae right there. That would just do it all right there. Oh my goodness, would that be something? That would be a priceless moment right there. That really. Anyhow, of course, it could be an all-time Eagle too. You never know. I mean, it could be big grin on the face. Hey, we got another one. Here you go, guys. Nick Foles comes out with, hey, here's number 2. Oh, Tom would lose at that. If Nick Foles came out with the Super Bowl to hand it to the Eagles, Tom would be like, oh, why me? You can tell how happy he was to see Nick at the NFC title. Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah. He still didn't shake his hand, but it is what it is. Good old Tom. Come on, Tom! I'm having too much fun. So anyhow, that's going to do it for me. But go Birds! One more to get here. NFC champions. 2 out of 3 years. First time in franchise history. Amazing run. I can't say enough. And so happy to be back in the Super Bowl. And hopefully this time it goes our way. But we'll see. You got to play the game. But I have a good feeling about it. I just do. I don't know why, but I do. We'll see. time will tell. But I hope to get another video out to you next week. Maybe try to X and O the game a little bit and give my final thoughts before the game. So anyhow, like I said, I have a couple videos for In the Life Iced coming up. Hopefully get to both of them either by the week or the weekend. So be on the lookout for that. And like I said, yeah, like, subscribe, bell icon. You all know what the rules of YouTube. And you all take care. And we'll all have a nice little bye week before the big game next Sunday evening. All right, everyone, take care.